Hello, everybody, and welcome once again to the Wednesday Week podcast. My name's Eddie, and I am hosting it tonight. I didn't get rave reviews for the last time I did this, so I'm very thankful for the rest of the gang for letting me have another crack at it. And speaking of the rest of the gang, I have got three of the best with me here tonight. First of all, I've got Dicky. Rich, how you doing, sir?
Good evening. I'm really well, Eddie. All the better for hearing your dulcet tones.
No, you're lying, and I love you for it, but thank you. Also, we have Victoria, a lady Sheffield Wednesday fan.
A lady. Hello. Hi. Good evening, everybody. I'm back.
Are you all right?
I'm all right. Are you?
Good. You sound bright-eyed and bushy-tailed, and that's exactly what we need now at midday, which is what we always do the Wednesday week at midday, and definitely not later on when we've been drinking. Speaking of which, James Marriott, our intrepid traveller. James, how are you, sir?
I'm just back today from a couple of days in Hamburg. So, prior warning, I am a little delicate right now.
Oh, well, aren't we all? Aren't we all in this day and age?
We're all delicate,
all snowflakes, aren't we?
This day and age?
It's a far cry from the old days. Okay, so it has been quite a busy week for Wednesday, but mainly just feels that way because we've had a big game and another one coming up. So without further ado, let's talk. It's time to talk about Villa, isn't it? You know, it's not Wolves away, it's Villa away. And what a match it turned out to be. Vic, did you expect that kind of performance? Let's put the result aside for once. Did you expect that kind of performance going into this match after what had been a bit of a flat capitulation against Forest?
Oh, capitulation. Yeah, I wasn't expecting that. I think everyone stood up to it. I think everyone got there were still some not great performances, but to be honest, those not great performances are still a pretty decent performance in the Championship. You know, if Adam Reach is having an off day, it's hardly like Steve Howard, is it? So it's all right. It's all right. We're good. For me, my highlight, apart from, I'm sure we'll all come to the main highlight of the game for anyone, especially a neutral, was Matthias's goal. Like, that was absolutely clean cut. He knew exactly where that was going. That was just impeccable. The cross that came in for it was amazing. The actual touch that he took for it. And it was pinpointed to that corner, wasn't it? There was just no question about it. It was going in.
The interesting thing was that it came very quickly after the start of the second half. The first half, do you feel that was a case of us getting our confidence back after, like I said, what had been a flat performance against Forest, what had been some of those senior players, as we've seen at the start of the season, shrinking maybe from their responsibilities a little bit? It kind of felt from the start that those quote-unquote big-name players were doing what we expect of them on a stage that I think maybe subconsciously they felt that they deserved to play on.
Yeah, I get that. I get that there may have been a confidence thing, but to me, I don't think the Forest game was a confidence thing. I'll just put that out there now. I think there was more to that. But heads weren't particularly down as we kicked off. It didn't look like anybody was lacking in confidence. Christ, we're still absolutely smashing this league, and we're doing all right. We're not far behind. You know, we could get quite high up quite soon. We're not allowed to look at the league table, though, are we? But
no, well, we absolutely can't because James will get
leagues.
So angry.
But yeah, it was. I don't think there weren't heads down as such, and it didn't feel like that throughout the game. I do think there are still a couple of players, Adam Reach in particular, who are not being played to their strength. But having said that, we're not losing shitloads of games, are we? So maybe he's not being played to his strengths, but maybe there's a reason for that. And as much as I question things and I question, starting lineups or whatever, if we're getting the results in, I can't question Joss's ideas, really, can I? So, but yeah, I think the goal was great to see. I think the way the players reacted with each other was just brilliant. Matthias is obviously, he's one of the lads, isn't he? You can tell that him, New Hugh and Zhao are the popular boys at the club, and they lead everything, don't they? They're the ones that organise, Scrabble at Dave's. And it was great to see. It was really nice to see. And it was good to see Matthias actually getting a good goal under his belt yet again. You think back to Leeds, was it last season before? And that goal, Jesus Christ. So it was nice to see that again, there is sometimes he frustrates me because I know he's got that quality in him.
I worry, though, that there seems to be an extra layer of veneer on those teeth every time we play live on Sky. And that's okay this season because, on there a bit, but not too much.
I was going to mention that. Like, I've run out.
His teeth will actually become radioactive.
I rely on Mr. Blank's strips that are like bleaching strips, and I do that before I go out. And that's my thing. But if Marco, whatever you're using, babes, let me know. They are just unreal, aren't they?
Mr. Blank's bleaching strips. Is that generally what they're called?
Together. We could, yeah.
No, I've just got. Oh no, I'm going to say I've got a friend. His surname's Blanks with a KS, and it just worried me that you got him round. You got him round cleaning your teeth one night. That was all I was thinking.
On Instagram and everything, honestly, we'll have a night. We'll do a face pack and a hair mask and some Mr. Blanks. We'll have a great time.
Rock an actual roll.
James, so I know obviously you like to watch the game in a state that can closely be described as paralytic. So I don't necessarily want to ask you tactical questions, but we reverted to a 3 at the back, didn't we, against Villa? And it seemed to pay dividends. I wonder what Josh's thinking was about that.
I don't know whether or not he felt that it was a game where we needed that kind of flexibility on the wing with wing backs to kind of spread the play. And it's worth noting that both goals really came from the flanks. So there may be something in that. But yeah, it did seem to work. And I thought, I'll be honest, Vic, I thought you were a bit harsh there, where you were like, well, there was some all right performances. I think everyone played great. I think everyone put in a really good shift. And as a team, I'd kind of moaned about at Forest, it looked like a lot of individuals and we didn't look like a team. Well, total transformation, the Villa game, we looked like a team. Everyone seemed to know what their job was. Everyone kind of worked hard for the team. And there were a couple of players that did, particularly kind of stand out as playing really well. But I don't think there wasn't one player that you'd say, it's them that won the game for us. It was, we lost as a team last Wednesday night. We won as a team on Saturday. And that's really, really pleasing because it was a bit of a kind of off the back of that 20 minutes against Stoke where we just looked like we just couldn't cope with teams that come at us. And then, obviously the Forest game. So, seeing that we can, when it's our day, we can turn in performances like we did on Saturday. Then, that was good to see. And probably we needed that. We needed the points, but I think we needed to see that performance because, I've bemoaned a couple of the games that we've won at Hillsborough this season where performance-wise, we've not been amazing. We've won games without being amazing, which is a great quality to have, but we needed a game where I think we turned in a really good performance so that we know that, we got that quality. And that's exactly what we did on Saturday. And, full respect to players like, Daniel Poodle and Michael Hector, who, Poodle obviously is not a regular starter now. Hector was starting for the first time. And they looked really accomplished at the back. And it was great to see the kind of the Poodle that we saw the back end of last season, who was kind of rock solid. And particularly one challenge in the box where he just kind of basically just kind of like dived at the feet of the Villa player, just took the ball off him, picked himself back up and just carried on. It was brilliant. And some great performances, and 3 at the back definitely worked.
Yeah, it felt like a veteran performance, didn't it, from a lot of those players, where it was, not scene stealing, but that, they did their job in a way that, the team that got so close to promotion that first season, did. Dicky, so obviously we got our noses in front. I think it was a cracking finish. I think maybe there was an element of chance to it that we finally got Villa turned, and got them on a back foot. They missed some of their assignments and allowed Matthias to get into a position to take that shot. What can't be denied is that Villa's response was an absolute cracker. We don't talk a lot about the opposition on this podcast. We're completely one-sided when it comes to the greatest team the world's ever seen. But Dicky, can you think of a better opposition goal than that in the end, in your time watching Wednesday? It's probably 15 years you've been watching Wednesday now at the age of 24.
Absolutely, yeah. It's about that. It's about since I was 9. Yeah, that's about right. Exactly. Yeah. I'm trying to think of one now, but I can't actually think of one that I've seen probably as good as that. I mean, the way he coloured it reminded a little bit of Roberto Carlos. Didn't go quite as wide as Carlos' shot when he scored for Brazil in France in the World Cup. Was that a World Cup warm-up tournament he played in?
Le Tournoi, wasn't it? Yeah, 97, yeah.
Le Tournoi, yes, yeah. And that was going about 10 yards wide, but this one from McGinn, I think, looked like about 3 or 4 yards wide, and it's... What? We know this kind of stuff. It's just because it's been what my dad told me about it. That's why I know about it.
You were what a child. What a child, my friend.
What a goal.
But it was one of those, yeah. Keepers don't save those. Not at all. They just was absolute belter of a goal. And I'm like I said, trying to rack my brains out, think of it as a good one that I've seen. And there's not one that's kind of coming to mind. Apart from there was one, and it was a Chelsea player, and was it Graham Stewart that ran the full length of the pitch?
Oh, God,
wasn't a kind of volley, but for Chelsea, he ran the full length of the pitch, took about four players on and put the ball away. That's the only one that's stepping out right now. But that was a...
You know what,
Rick? Wasn't that a game where we were like 3-0 up or something and ended up joining 3-3 or losing 4-3, something like that?
Didn't we lose 4-3?
That might not have been that game. The game you're thinking about was
the Paul Cannavale game, isn't it? That?
Yeah, the 4-4 Paul Cannavale game.
Yeah.
The thing was, Rich, I had our mutual friend Jade round, and she was doing work. I was sat watching the football, and like when it went in, and like she does not watch football whatsoever. Like she does not get it, and I was like, oh my God, what a goal! And it confused the life out of her. She was like, why are you stood up? Wasn't that against you?
Why are you celebrating somebody else's goal?
Yeah, you do not see goals like that ever. Like I'm calling it now. That's got to be the goal of the season for the championship. If something better comes along, my God, we are lucky to be
Whoa,
fans.
Hang on. Somewhere Barry Bannon is just sitting there going, challenge accepted.
No, fine. But it just blew me away. And it's times like that you think, sometimes at Hillsborough, someone scores a wonder goal and you end up like quietly applauding in your lap, because you're just like, and at the end of the day, we're all football fans, but we're all Wednesday fans. But sometimes a goal like that just takes you completely by surprise. And it's been one of those that the more people have shared the gif of it on Twitter, the more I've watched it. Because I just think, wow, that is why I love football. That right there is why I love football.
Sublime. Absolutely sublime. But this is a Sheffield Wednesday podcast. We don't want to talk about that because you know what?
Nah.
Things changed pretty damn quickly, didn't they? Because we, despite being pegged back, we really, I think, we got a toehold in the game with the first goal. We really, really put Villa to bed after that because we dominated after their goal. And that after probably 2 or 3 real gilt-edged chances, Fletch came up trumps, didn't he? Wasn't that what we signed him to do, James?
He's a goal scorer, isn't he? And that's probably he's any player that is a goal scorer when they're not scoring goals, you get a bit frustrated with them. And Fletcher does bring something different to the table to some of our other options in that position. And I thought there's a couple of games where he's put in a real shift in the last few games. I'm so pleased that he scored as well because he has that header that he missed in. It was second half, wasn't it? It was early in the second half. The header that he missed, it's like that. I don't understand the maths of that. Like it would actually have been easier to score from where he was to have put that header wide. I just don't understand how he did it. Then there was the chance when he was clean through on goal. And that was one where He just needed that little bit more composure. But, it came up trumps in the end. Huge credit here to Joey Pelliapesi, because that was a sublime ball into the box. It was an absolute thing of beauty. And as soon as you saw that it was going to get on, Fletcher was going to get his head on the end of that, there was no chance that ball was going anywhere other than the back of the net. And it was great. It was a very different goal to the first one. It's certainly not going to win our goal of the season, but everything about it was really nice. It just came at a period of the game where we were on top, where we were outplaying Villa. And we deserved it. We deserved to go ahead. Fletcher deserved his goal, and I'm really pleased. Let's not get into a conversation on the kind of positives and negatives of our striking options, because there's no way that all of us will ever agree on that. But I think Fletcher is really showing what he can bring to the table and why he needs to be starting game in, game out with the options that we've got at the moment.
Yeah, I think for me, Fletcher's one of those, again, I'm kind of, the jury's out for me on him, but I think the way he's played the last few games, and particularly against Villa, he made a lot of chances, not all of them kind of, falling his way, but I think he deserved his goal, and he definitely is a man in the kind of, the kind of attacking role at the minute that's got to be pushed out.
I think what Fletcher does that we don't really have anyone else that does is he just causes he's just a pain in the arse for defenders, isn't he? Rather than him being someone that you just lob the ball up towards, he moves around the pitch, he gets into positions, he pulls defenders away. He does something. He's got a certain level of like football intelligence, which you'd expect a player that played in the Premier League for so long to have. But you can see it, he just does things that are just clever. And so, I don't think he's fully fit, and I don't think we're seeing a fully fit Stephen Fletcher at all. But it kind of, I'm seeing stuff from him now that makes me think with this combination of players, him and Matthias seem to work quite well together. Maybe there's something there, for us to really focus on now with Fletcher.
I know we're gonna talk about him in a bit, but I have always said, and as much as I am a New View lover, my top two pairing up front is Hooper and Fletcher. I just think they work together so unbelievably well, and neither of them are particularly strong players on the ball. They're not, there's a lot of faults that you can pick out individually, if you're gonna be that person, which I am. But when they're together, my God, they are, as far as I'm concerned, they're our top two. But obviously, shit happens, and New View or Joe. But yeah, Fletcher for me, I think he's got something really special. And I think if he was an 18-year-old lad that we got on loan from Chelsea or whatever, we'd all be raving. The fact that he's built a name for himself already, and we're expecting maybe too much, that's the reason that we're all holding back a bit. But then he shows those signs. Like you said, he's a complete pain in the arse. Total pain in the arse for any defender. Any defensive midfielder, to be fair. He's there all the time, isn't he?
I think in the end, it comes down to a real veteran performance from veterans. And I wonder whether maybe playing against a team like Villa that has aspirations to be in the Premier League, they play a very Premier League style. And that's something that plays into the way that Stephen Fletcher has learned to play his game. And those players kind of really stepped up. But interestingly, we probably had a man of the match performance from somebody that was at the other end of the age spectrum in the form of Matt Penney. The Villa fans on Twitter after the game were going absolutely mental for how good Penney was and how well he played. Definitely his best performance in a Wednesday shirt. Do you think that he almost now is staking his claim as being the most important member of this, academy class in terms of what he can do and how he can change the way that we play the game?
He's got something, hasn't he? He has got that little, he's showing that little spark of quality. He was playing against a pretty experienced Villa team, and I'm sure their fans would probably bemoan just how experienced it is, because it seemed a little sluggish, their team on Saturday. But Penney was, dropping out some right skills, wasn't he? He was, step overs, he was whizzing past defenders, they were resorting to just having to foul him because it was the only way in which they could stop him. He had a cracking game, and I'm pleased he's kind of growing in confidence after that game a couple of weeks back when he was playing up against Tom Ince, and it just got away. It just ran away from him for a little while, but he pulled it back and he got back in control of the situation. And there's been no stopping him since then. And you've got to. I know it's unfair to do this, but you compare and contrast. One of the weaknesses I felt at Forest was kind of Fox down that wing just doesn't have the thing that Matt Penney does. And it's just that bit of quality. It's just that bit of something about him that you get with a player like Matt Penney in the team. And it's great to see, because I think when we've talked in the past about the academy teams, and we've talked about players that we're excited about, and I know I've talked about Matt Penney about a year ago, maybe more than a year ago, and I think his name's come up on the podcast a few times in the past where we've talked about players that are kind of just approaching that verge of knocking on the door of the first team. It's just really nice to see him getting that run and doing a flipping good job. I also want to echo the words of the Owls Americast when they talked about Matt Penney this week, in terms of the fact that if we don't have someone camped outside his house with a pen and a contract in their hand, then we need to resolve that. We need someone there 24/7 bugging him to get that contract signed, because this is a player that we cannot let slip through our grasp. We've got to get him signed up.
Yeah, absolutely. I think most Wednesday fans look at that and see that could settle 1/4 of our back four or 1/5 of our back five for the next 4 or 5 years easily. So the Villa game is in the books. That left Wednesday in 10th, which is good news, because we didn't have a great start to the season, did we? But now we are sitting only 2 points off the playoffs, 2 points behind several teams, one of which may be our City rivals. But most importantly, now 8 full points away from the drop zone, which I think we were all looking at up until maybe 3 weeks ago. So we move on to news of the week. So probably the biggest ripples that have been made in the news as far as Wednesday is concerned actually made the national press this week, because scurrilous rumours and scuttlebutt, not scutter.
Did you look that up, by the way, on?
Yeah, I did.
Dictionary? It wasn't pleasant.
So did I. That is disgusting.
A little bit worried after that.
Yes, yeah.
I'm glad I wasn't on
So
that.
yes, I'm not going to use that phrase anymore. So we'll just talk about rumours. We'll just talk about loose lips. Let's move on from that as well.
Let's just go into the
rumours
rumour lounge.
in the Sun. Gary Cahill, Chelsea, of course,
I was just about to ask you to do it.
I believe, and a lifelong Wednesday fan. Linked with a move to Hillsborough in the January transfer window because he's not getting a game at Chelsea and he's probably unlikely to. Vic, I know Jos has come out and said very clearly, that these are just rumours. What do you think the truth of the situation is there?
I've mentioned before, right? I went to school with Gary, and I wouldn't say I wouldn't say I know him really well anymore, but I do know his wife, and they are the cutest little couple. They've been together like 20 years and they're in their 30s. It's mental. But he's a huge Wednesday fan, and like to the point that he probably listens to this. Like, he is a big time Wednesday fan. He is, like, that's who he is. He's also not a big time footballer, if that makes sense. Like, he's not about making shed loads of money every week and going out partying. This guy is still with the girl he's been with since he was 12 years old, got 2 kids to her. He sold his Audi R8 because it cost too much money to run. Like, that is who Gary Cahill is. And I always remember as well reading when we beat the Blades at home. Oh, God, obviously a long time ago. And somebody put, like, the worst thing about it wasn't being sat in the home end with my mates because I couldn't get a ticket in the away end, like some Blade. It was like, but the worst thing was turning around and seeing Gary Cahill going fucking mental when they scored. That is who he is. Like, so it wouldn't surprise me if his agents whoever hasn't put this out there as like let's see if we can get Gary his swan song club that he wants, because he really is a Wednesday fan. And I think, do you know what? If the guy's willing to come for money that we can afford to pay, you know, he's made money. He's made enough money for his great grandkids to live a very, very happy life. So does he now just want to come back to Sheffield? You know, he's not that old, Yoss. Thank you very much. He's like a bit older than me. What, a year, 2 years older? What is
32.
32. So he's the year above me at school. I don't think it'd be a bad signing for us, to be fair. I think if we could get him on the money that we can afford to get him, and we could keep him happy, and he'd be back home in Sheffield with his family, then is that a bad thing? But obviously, Yossa said he's too old, so...
It was a flat no. It's a flat no.
I know.
He prefers 19 to 23-year-olds, Vic. I don't know where he gets that from.
Man, them like the youth.
Hey!
Strike through, Edward.
He's not going to take a 90% pay cut, though, is he, to come here?
Why?
Not at all.
No, right.
If he loved Wednesday, he would.
Right. Exactly, Edward. That is what I'm saying. And he genuinely does. He is an owl through and through. And he's
it's a done deal then. Done deal.
All right, Vic. Okay, Vic.
Yeah.
Announce Cahill.
It was never going to happen. It's a nice thought, though.
No.
Yeah, it's not going to happen, is it? It's not going to happen because there is going to be someone that could offer him more money, and he's got a family and people to think about at the end of the day. But I'd kill to see him just play here. Like, I would just love it. I'd absolutely love it.
I still live
Plus, then I get
in
to see
an
Gemma
alternate...
more, and she's lovely.
I still live in an alternate reality where Wednesday got promoted under Carlos and then signed Jamie Vardy and Gary Cahill for the first season of the Premier League and went on to qualify for Europe.
And Ronaldo.
And obviously Ronaldo, to partner Semedo. So, obviously that ship has sailed because all of those players are now past it and we wanted them in their prime. So we'll stick with Matt Penney, thanks, because he's brilliant. So, in other news, we had a magnificent win Wednesday against Villa. The under-23s had a game that doesn't matter at all. It doesn't matter. It's under-23s. That's not even real football. It doesn't matter what the result was against any other team. We played another team called Sheffield United. The final score was something like 3-1 to Sheffield United, who put out basically their first team. Just to try and get one upon us. Dicky, we don't need to worry about any of this, do we? Surely this is just irrelevant. Why are we even talking about it?
I've no idea. I've absolutely no idea what we're talking about at all. It's a simple answer.
Look, United played Paul Coots and basically tried to win the game just to get one upon us. That's their prerogative. Yeah. They're a small-time joke of a club. Why wouldn't they do that? That's what they live for. Doesn't matter.
I was talking to somebody. Yeah, I think United's team had quite a few kind of first-team kind of squad in it. So, and I was talking to somebody from the club at the weekend, and they were saying now the under-23s are starting to, even though it's the first one they lost in 5, most of the kind of players now are in the first-team squad. So they're going through a period of struggling because they've kind of, they've not got the players that, they've got to start again effectively. So they've not got a Matt Penney, they've not got Thornley, etc. They've got all these players that are kind of, that they've got to start again, which the first team obviously is a priority and is benefiting from our youth kind of, policy. But, they've got to start again. So, are they going to be a little bit of whipping boys when they come up against a good side or a side that's playing half the first team?
Well, let's hope so. Let's be honest here. Anyway, that's enough of the other. There's no more youth update this week because that was rubbish. That one. We don't like to lose. We like to win. So we're going to take you back in time. We'll take you back in time for our next news item. So, settle in, kids, because Uncle Eddie got the cocoa. We're going to get around the fire and we're going to go back 20 years because it's 20 years since a player called Paolo Di Canio, who was, let's be honest, a world-class shithouse as well as being an unbelievable player. He did something very, very funny in a Premier League game against Arsenal, and that was getting sent off and then pushing the referee over. And by pushing the referee over, basically he gave him a little bit of a shove, which an 8-year-old would have laughed off. But the referee in question, Paul Alcock, went down like he had been shot in the leg with a tranquilizer dart. So,
do you know the funniest bit of that sequence, though, was when Nigel Winterman shit himself?
Yeah. Yeah, when Di Canio...
When Di Canio just moved a little towards him and he squared up with him and then shit his pants.
I'm sure. Look, you won't. I say we'll put it onto the Twitter. You won't have to. It's all over Wednesday internet this week today. What a fantastic moment in itself, and all, really overshadowed what was. We talked about great goals. One absolute thunderchuffer from Lee Briscoe on that day.
I'll never forget that
Arsenal.
moment. I'll never forget it.
Yeah.
I remember the entire... Do you know what? Like, you guys sometimes talk about games from, like, the past or, like, last week. And I think, well, it's a football game. Like, I watched it, I was there, whatever. But there are certain games that just every single touch you remember. And that game, I swear to God, I could tell you minute for minute what happened in that game. And I'll never, ever forget Briscoe's goal. That was just outstanding, wasn't it? It was at the West Stand, wasn't it? From that left-hand corner. Yeah. Oh, my Christ. I've never seen it back, actually. So if anyone's got a clip of it, I'd love to see it again. 'Cause all I've got in my head is, like, the memory from where I was sat. But, yeah, that was just... and I've hated Martin Keown since that day as well. I've just hated him. I can't even... If he's on Match of the Day, I cannot watch it. I hate him because he started that.
Oh, trust me, that hatred of him came a long time before that.
Yeah, but I was a baby. Absolutely. I mean, Rick, you weren't even born, so. But yeah,
I mean, Dad's just told me about it, honestly.
But yeah, that moment for me was like, I think that one game, like, obviously for me, I was 10 years old. That was like the 10th season of going, or 11th season, whatever. And that game to me summed up being a Sheffield Wednesday fan, because I saw us playing against Arsenal, playing well, Canio getting sent off, all the shit that came from it, and then that wonder goal, and then and then the weeks that followed, and just this spiral of just like, like in The Wizard of Oz, where she gets caught in the tornado, and she just sees faces around her. You just see Danny Wilson and Di Canio, and you just spiral into like League One. Over the next 10 years. That was my pinnacle game, and it just, I just remember it like it was yesterday. But yeah, that goal from Briscoe, that's got to be one of the best goals I've seen as a Sheffield Wednesday fan. I don't know if it's because it wasn't, maybe, I know it was a good goal, but I think it's just a memory of that day. That goal will always stay with me.
Actually, a memory of being in the Premier League. James, do you feel that maybe that moment represented a turning point, like a sliding doors moment? If Paolo Di Canio doesn't push Paul Alcock there, do we might not get the result against Arsenal? Does it change what happened after that? Would Wednesday maybe have kept Paolo? Would we maybe have survived into at least a time when the Premier League meant more money? We wouldn't have ended up where we were kind of 10 years later. How do you feel about that incident and about Paolo Di Canio, 20 years removed from that?
It was interesting right at the start of this segment where you referred to it as a funny moment. And in hindsight, it is, isn't it? And it's been mixed to all kinds of different music so that, it's a comical incident. It wasn't at the time. I remember at the time being at the game, and there were people who were furious about it. The referee had completely lost control of that game. Did it represent something bigger? I don't think so. I think whenever Danny Wilson was our manager, we were going to have problems. This was a guy that was just in way over his depth. And if it hadn't have been pushing over a ref, there would still have been something that would have kicked off in the dressing room. And it might have already kicked off by this point, to be honest. It might have been Di Canio's kind of lack of control of his temper might have kind of stemmed from the way things were already going behind the scenes. So, I think it's all right for us to look back on it kind of with a bit of a jovial outlook now, and not worry too much about whether or not it had any great significance in the, absolute disastrous decade that pretty much followed that moment. But we did win the game, didn't we?
Okay, so moving back to the present day, or Wednesday, the unbelievably good, possibly best movie ever documentary, the showing in public, because obviously we've had the club preview, etc. A few lucky fans, including some of the Wednesday week staff here, got to see it, and it's been opened up to a much wider public to watch, I believe, next month or in November. Tickets are now on sale. James, what are the details there, just to remind everybody?
It is Tuesday, the 6th of November. If it sells out, there are plans to possibly lay on other showings on other days as well. But at the moment, that's the one. So it's Tuesday, the 6th of November. It is at Sheffield University. It starts at 7:00. And it will be flipping brilliant.
Sorry, the University of Sheffield. That is how we refer to ourselves.
Oh, sorry, I apologise.
Is it right?
It's halibut better anyway.
Is it in the Octagon, Vic? Is that the idea?
No, I believe it'll be in the Students' Union. We've got a cinema there now. So for those of you that don't know, obviously I work for the university, and so does Matt Exton, who has made the film. So we've been colleagues now for a year and a half. He is amazing. He is so talented, and he's asked us to get involved. So we are officially involved with this, which meant we got a mention on the Sheffield Wednesday website. Thanks, Trevor Braithwaite, Mark Rowan. That's pretty impressive.
That's never happened before, has it?
I know. That's our first one, isn't it? That's unbelievable. I didn't even write.
People taking it serious these days.
I know. One drink.
That's a good thing or a bad thing.
I can't wait. I've already bought my mum and dad a ticket. Obviously, we're going to be there, and I just want to watch it again, because I feel this time I won't be as emotional. Do you know what I mean? I think.
Or on your phone.
That was before the film.
No, that was actually in the cinema. There's a picture. It's in the cinema.
Babe, I was recording the interview that we've used since for audio, so shut your face.
Oh,
right?
No, you weren't. No, you weren't.
I can guarantee every listener and fan of the podcast, I will be swiping right on this film as it starts. So we've talked about the past. Let's talk about the future. We've got a big game coming up on Friday. The squad, actually, for once, we're not doing too bad as far as injuries is concerned, with a couple of notable exceptions. We talked about Kieran Lee last week. I don't think there's any expectation that he's going to be pulling on the blue and white anytime soon. But the news about Hooper this week has been a bit of a bummer, hasn't it? In terms of he's had another reaction. He's got some pain. They're going to get another opinion as far as his injury is concerned. Dicky, do you think that maybe this is the last chance for him, that we might not see him in a Wednesday shirt again?
I'd love to think not. I mean, you got to think about the other times when he's come back from injury, and he's made such a difference to the team. But how long can we sustain it? Is he out of contract at the end of the season? Is that when he's out? I'm not sure.
Yeah, well, we're going to have to start negotiating now, really, if you're thinking of it.
So is it going to be one that we just kind of decide we're going to, let go and just, it's put it down to experience? Or he's a bloody good player. He really is. But we haven't seen him on a football pitch for a long time now.
And the interesting thing is really the way, Jos talked about the Gary Cahill rumours. When he talks about the focus of the club being on, players who are 19 to 23, I mean, you've got to stretch 23 quite a way to get to where Gary Hooper is now. So I know some people on Twitter have talked about a pay-as-you-play deal or a prove-it deal, that kind of thing. I worry as far as the future for Hooper. Is he going to get a chance? Is he going to be fit enough to be able to stake his claim for even the classic old man extension of a 1-year contract? It's yeah, I think we're almost right on the edge with him now. I think he needs to be back in first team play, before Christmas at the very least to have a shot at this.
He's 31 in January. Is Hooper, which that's certainly not an age where you couldn't do a job in the Championship. But the problem is just the fact I think it's 9 months this week since he played football. And if he's not back kind of playing soon, he's going to have a real job on convincing any Championship club that he's going to be able to do it kind of week in, week out. So it's hard. With both Kieran Lee and Gary Hooper, it's so hard when you talk about it. It's so upsetting because you think, maybe they will still be able to do a job, but it's just difficult to see, where they're going to get the chance to do it if they're not back playing before the end of this season. However, in positive Gary Hooper news, we often talk about Gary Hooper's dad on this show, and I've never known what his name is until this week when I found out that Gary Hooper's dad's name is Gary Hooper. So there you go.
Perfect.
Well, at least
he said it. I was like, Gary, please say Gary. Please say Gary.
No, his parents are Gary and Carol.
Gary.
So at least it's not like. At least it doesn't rank with the Neville brothers' dad, does it? That's
Neville. Neville.
Yeah, Neville. Yeah.
To be fair, if it was called Hooper.
Yeah, I'm a little bit upset. There's a great tradition in American sports with players obviously following in the footsteps of their fathers, and a lot of the time you get a junior, or you get a so and so the second, and even in some cases so and so the third. I would love for Gary Hooper to just have like Hooper Junior on the back of his shirt rather than just Hooper. That's, you gotta honour your family and all that sort of stuff. The only thing that could be better is if he had an identical twin brother, either called Ramon, or if not, then Cooper. Cooper Hooper. That would work. So Gary Hooper's not going to be playing on Friday night, but 11 of our team and plus subs will. We're playing against the league leaders, so it feels, especially because it's a local derby as well, it feels almost like it's going to be the biggest Hillsborough night, or the biggest Championship test that we had since we went away against Newcastle, for instance. It's a big game. There's going to be a big crowd. There's Sky TV there. There's a lot of pressure on the team. For a big occasion, we need big game players. James, do we think that this is the stage where Fernando Forestieri steps back into the team?
Just before that, Eddie, by the way, I don't recognise them as league leaders, which is where my theory of ignoring the league table until Christmas can become very useful. They might as well be bottom for all I know. It doesn't matter. They've won a few games. Who gives a shit? It's Leeds United. I also noticed earlier that 7 out of Leeds' next 8 games are live on Sky. 7 out of their next 8. That's just ridiculous, isn't it?
They're doing their boxing, the Leeds fans. Do you remember last year when we had, what was it, from the end of August to the middle of November, we didn't have a single Saturday 3 p.m. kickoff. A lot of the Leeds fans are going through that pain this season. But fuck them, they're Leeds fans, so who cares?
Absolutely, yes. Forestieri, this is a real tough one. It's a real tough one. You would say, on paper, you don't change a winning team, do you? But, we know that there is, this is football in 2018 and kind of tinkering with the team from one week to the next. It happens. You would surmise that, Fessy on the bench, bring him on with kind of 20, 15 minutes to go to have a real impact, would be a real good move. On the other hand, he will be absolutely chomping at the bit, won't he? He will be absolutely desperate to get out there and score. I suspect the fact that he wasn't starting games before his suspension would suggest that he will be on the bench. And I think it's just, I've looked at our bench for kind of like 2 or 3 games now, and there isn't a player on it where you think, and this is no disrespect to the players that we've got on the bench, but there's no player that you kind of think, right, they're the person you're going to bring on that's going to change the game. When you've got, maybe Zhao when he's on the bench is someone that can come on and do something. But that kind of Forestieri off the bench is a real luxury for any team. So, yeah, I suspect he'll be one of the subs.
So, Dicky, in terms of our opposition, and we don't look at the league tables, they're not the league leaders. I don't know who said that. No. That makes no sense. Why would anybody do that at this point? They look like a decent team, and they've got a really big name as a manager. Other than what's he called at Newcastle? Your man. The manager.
Rafa
Benitez. Yeah, other than Rafa Benitez, I think Bielsa's probably the biggest name manager the Championship has ever had in terms of his palmarès. They had a really good start to the season, but they seem to almost be starting to do a Leeds. And, losing to Birmingham is the perfect start to that, isn't it?
And that's the best bit. The lack of kind of grief I've had from Leeds fans so far is purely because they've done it in seasons gone past. Like, they've had a great start, come up to November, they're doing all right, and then the wheels start to fall off. And I think the Leeds fans they're scared of having a go at us again, because it might all happen again. First loss at the weekend against Birmingham of the season with an ex-Blade scoring a couple against them as well, which is always somebody from Sheffield Link to score against Leeds is always a good thing. So yeah, I think Leeds could be falling apart again.
Let's hope so. So the press have put out that obviously it's going to be a big crowd, even though it's live on Sky. They're saying they're expecting a crowd of more than 27,000, which can't be right, because obviously Leeds will bring 70,000 because they always do.
Yeah.
Leeds always would bring more than that. Vic, you're a local resident. Do you feel that a match with such a high profile, certainly Wednesday Leeds, on a Friday night? I mean, I'm not being funny. We've been to a few Leeds games, haven't we, over the years, and they're always a bunch of absolute bastards. Whether it is snorting wraps of Coke on the tram, whether it is selling National Front fanzines, anything that they do is shit. Do we want that on a Friday night in Hillsborough? Should this not be a Saturday lunchtime game where they can at least be corralled by riot police?
Game.
What, because of Jesus?
No. No, because I'm always with Jesus till midday on a Sunday, and then I'm free. No, it's games like this. I think sometimes, and I hate to say it because I pay for Sky and I do all the typical football fan stuff, it should not be dictated by Sky as to when these games are. Friday night is not a great time to play that sort of a game. It's just not. People go out straight from work or they finish at lunchtime and it all goes to shit. Same as if it's a Saturday night, it's just as bad. Sunday morning, that's when these sort of games should be. Or leave them at 3:00 on a Saturday. If that's what you want to, if you really think that there's going to be no trouble, leave it where it is. Sometimes I do think that Sky ruins the game. Obviously, Sky pays for the game. Blah 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 blah. You end up just in a complete vicious circle. But yeah, I'm not looking forward to it. I think we're going to be in the usual haunt of the Riverside Cafe with its new outside bar now open on match days. Just to slide that one in there. So we will be there before and after, and then I think we're all heading away, aren't we, guys, into Kelham Island? So it'll just
possibly.
Yeah, I don't want to go into town that night. It's just sometimes it's just not worth it, and that shit. Like, it shouldn't be like that. Like I said about watching the Villa game, I was just in awe of that goal, like absolutely in awe. But then if it was going to put me at risk to be, I don't know, to play against a team, I wouldn't have been that excited about something like that, because you just think, oh God, what's that going to mean? And it's not so much for me, it's for my parents and my friends, and you end up getting a bit more stressed about leaving than you really should.
The last time we played them on a Friday night, Chris Kirkland got twatted. And that for me just sums up why we shouldn't play Leeds on Friday night.
And
that's the kind of stuff that happens.
I used to work in, actually closed that night because of that, because there was so much trouble in town.
Yeah. Basically, Leeds fans, a bunch of dickheads. So after that, Friday night, we'll have a nice little break because we're back on Sky on Wednesday because we're playing against West Brom. Now, West Brom are a team that has been in the Premier League recently and have come down, made a decent fist of getting back up. West Brom are a team that do what West Brom do, which is not really spend a lot of money, try and do what they can. If they get relegated, they don't panic and just like gradually get on with the idea of just going up as champions the next season and getting all that lovely Sky money. So let's not dwell on previewing the West Brom game. It's going to be interesting. We know that. Let's just go straight to predictions for these two games. Vic, Leeds and West Brom, what are your predictions? How many points are we getting out of these two?
I'd like to say 6, obviously, but I think I would comfortably say 4. I actually think we're going to win on tomorrow night. I'm not sure about West Brom. I've not looked too much into them. Obviously, I know Leeds just because I have BBC, so I see Look North every night. So I know what Leeds will do.
Have you really just said that?
It's true. So yeah.
Even the weather.
I know. I swear to God, I could tell you exactly what is happening in Leeds Town Centre right now because I watch BBC Look North. I couldn't tell you what happens in Huddersfield, Sheffield, Doncaster, Barnsley. No fucking idea, but Leeds, I can tell you. So yeah, so I know what they're up to. I know that we're okay. I think we'll be fine. West Brom, not sure. I'd like to say 4 points from the 6.
Dicky, what about you, sir?
I'd love to get 6. We're not going to get 6. I would be happy at 2, ecstatic at 4.
2 home games and 2 points is an absolute minimum, isn't it?
Not a good return. Yeah, it's what we need.
No, exactly. And these are 2 teams that you'd expect to be in the shake-ups. So, yes, you want to take points off them, but there's no shame in settling for a draw. James, do you have anything more optimistic than these 2 clowns?
Absolutely not. I think we'll draw against Leeds. I don't know about West Brom. We might win that game. I've got a feeling that both games will be draws. I think it'll be 2 points.
Okay, good. Well, it's going to be 6 points. We're going to smash them both, and we'll win all the fights outside the ground as well. So because we're Wednesday, that's what we do. So yes, let's. You know what? And we're not unaccountable here on the Wednesday week. You can come at us. So after Friday, you can tweet us and tell us how wrong they were about the fact that we'd only get 1 point against Leeds. Me and Vic went for a solid win. And then on Wednesday night, you can probably tweet me and go, what the fuck are you talking about? 6 points, you idiot. We've got 2 losses now. So yes, we're not unaccountable. We'll stand by these predictions. So that's what is happening in the world of Wednesday. What is happening in the world of Wednesday week? Well, 2 things. Okay. I like to campaign about stuff. I'm campaigning about 2 things this week. Number 1, I campaign about the Riverside Cafe on Catch Bar Lane. That is the best beer and food and welcome and heating and light and toilets within a 500-meter radius of the ground. I urge you to prove me wrong. So that's the Riverside Cafe, Catch Bar Lane, our wonderful sponsors. That's where we hang out before the game. There is a good reason for that. We're not idiots. We know what's good, and that place is fantastic. The other thing that I love to campaign about is my new idea for a sign that we put up outside the COP. So, health and safety. Yeah. You go to building sites and stuff like that, and they have those signs saying, 141 days since our last industrial accident, something like that. Yeah. Hammers home the idea that they're safe, people are working and they're safe on the job, adhering to all the requirements. I am campaigning for a sign to go up on the COP, giving the number of days since somebody has been tossed off. So right now, we get that sign up today, okay? Thursday. So we start off without
it was Barry Bannon's goal. I just couldn't.
Exactly.
Rich,
so there you go.
Rich, we were just beside ourselves, weren't we? It was just too much.
I dream.
I need to put me down.
As a father and as someone who I like football. I don't want to go to the football for any other reason. It's like if I go to Pornhub, I go to Pornhub. If I go to football, I go to football. I would like a world. I'd like to live in a world where my son can look up at the Kop and there's a big sign there saying, 974 days since somebody got tossed off on the Kop. Let's make it happen. We'll crowdfund it. I'll put the link out on Twitter.
Is it now on your bucket list?
Thinking about this week. We're going to move on to probably the best part of the Wednesday week, because it's stuff that we don't have to come up with. This is Ask the Wednesday Week. This is where we go out to Twitter. People ask us questions. We end up blocking a lot of people off the back of this, but the ones that get through are always golden. Victoria, I'm coming to you first. It is from, you know what? Whenever we do this, that Montague Dangerous will always be the one who saves us. So Monty has asked, should Jack Stobbs be given a chance in the team the way that Matt Penney has been?
Well, that's a bit serious considering most of his other questions. I don't normally read this bit. I like to surprise.
Answer the question, Victoria.
If anyone looked at Instagram tonight, I don't know who it was that shared it, but someone shared a photo of Jack Stobbs' toe, and he's got a really weird toenail. It's like an extra limb. It's disgusting. So until he gets that sorted out, no, he shouldn't be given a chance. He should be sent straight to the podiatrist.
I despair about social media. Honestly, sometimes. That's coming from me.
I don't know who it is that I follow. I think it was like Alex Hunt or somebody shared it. Now I clicked on it. I was like, oh my God. How can you? I couldn't kick a ball if I got a cut on my toe, let alone that. So no.
That needs to be a hashtag. Hashtag Jack Stobbs toe needs to become, that needs to be a thing.
Sort your toe out, Jack, and then maybe you'll get a chance in the first team. But until you've sorted that toe, babe, no, it's disgusting. It was just like a mushroom. Ugh. No, he should not be given. Because Matt Penney, as far as I'm concerned, is like silk from head to toe, and he's just I love him. No, not in a rude way. I think he's
you got the red wine out again, Vic?
No, I wish I did. No, not a tea. But no, I think Matt Penney is just so pure. And then I've seen Jack Stobbs' toe, and I think no, he shouldn't be given the same chance. No, absolutely not. Not until he sorts out his toe.
Can't believe that.
That's a no then, is it?
Matt Penney, hashtag smooth like silk, Jack Stobbs, Hobbit foot. So
the longest no answer ever.
Absolutely.
Honestly, it's disgusting.
James, for you, the question has come from Laura Jones, which is, who would win in a fight, you or Kieran Westwood?
I politely decline to answer this question, and you'll be hearing from my lawyers tomorrow.
No, so it's a serious question. We've talked about him basically all podcast. How good is Matt Penney? But let's put a little spin on it. In terms of 5 years' time, is there any one of this Wednesday Academy graduate class that we've got at the moment? Are you putting your money on any one of them playing at a higher level than Matt Penney in 5 years' time?
Ooh, that's a good question. It's hard to say because I think some of them look really good. I think I like what I've seen of Fraser Preston when he's got a bit of game time, and they all look good. Connor Kirby's looked pretty good when he's had a bit of time on the pitch. But that composure and the amount, even in kind of the 5-6 games that Matt Penney has started, the amount that we've seen him grow in terms of confidence and just in terms of pure ability. This is a guy that's obviously, he is a level above. So I would struggle to see that there would be anyone else that would come near him in that sense. But that's a great challenge to all the rest of them. Hashtag sign Matt Penney.
let's get that one viral. Absolutely. Dickie, your question comes from the North Yorkshire Owls, who are obviously, as we know, the most loyal, vociferous, and best, let's be honest, Sheffield Wednesday fans there are. If you were all in a hot air balloon and it started to lose height, similar to the scenario in Chitty Chitty Bang Bang, which your dad will have told you about, you wouldn't have watched that being 24.
Absolutely correct.
So we're in that hot air balloon, probably doing a podcast live. Who on the Wednesday week would you throw out first? And before you answer that, let me just refer you to the fact that Fudge hasn't bothered turning up tonight.
Well, I love how I get this. You lot get serious questions, and I get a stupid question from Si. Thanks for that, Si. It's a really good question. Yeah, I mean, I think to rule people out, Vic, how she answered her question rules her out because she's full of hot air anyway. So that's going to keep the balloon going up. So Vic's number one in there all day long. So and I think James a bit of sensible one, so he wouldn't panic. So James would stay in.
He's got no ballast either. He's not helping. Throw him out. There's no weight.
It's not going to make a big difference. I think of anybody. It's between Eddie. It's between you and Fudge. But as Fudge is not here, you can get in the sea. So it's Fudge. You're out.
Excellent. That'll do me, Fudge. Get in the sea. I'm better than you. Never forget that. And finally, my question. Oh, I love you, Fudge. Honest. My question was from Chris Folkes, who is also the Manchester United correspondent for Goal. And he's asked a question very close to his heart. If I had to watch another English club week in, week out, who would it be? I've often considered this because obviously Wednesday haven't always been the footballing powerhouse that they are at the moment. And I married a girl who grew up as a Middlesbrough fan, and so I watched that load of scumbags for quite a while because Wednesday were rubbish and depressing. But I would have to choose a team that I latched onto when they were in the conference. Due to playing them in Premier Manager in 1992 on the Amiga, and that's Wycombe Wanderers. They had Martin O'Neill as manager, and Steve Guppy was their star player. So if I had to abandon Wednesday, which would never, ever, ever happen, I'd have to become a season ticket holder for the Chairboys of Wycombe Wanderers. Has anyone else got a weird second team that they would pick? And obviously, for you, Rich, it could be quite an easy one, shouldn't it?
Hey, I don't believe in second teams. I know you know where you're going to go. You're going to go Swansea, aren't you? Because of my dad. But no, I don't give a shit about any.
Not a second team.
Well,
you go to Hallam every.
I don't do second team. They're not a freaking second team. They're on par sometimes. That's a freaky bit. No, it's non-league. It doesn't count, does it? It doesn't count.
Of course it does. That would be my answer. Would be I would go and see Hallam.
Okay, if I've got to say, I always said, the way I describe it, Wednesday's my first love, Hallam's just the affair.
So that's nice. My second team, I have Spurs, just because I love to watch Spurs. I always have done. And then Hallam, and then little team.
You've not been to watch Hallam yet?
Yes, I have. Yes, I have. Don't even... Yes, I have. You got me in for free a couple of times.
I have not.
So I'm not technically paid to watch Hallam yet, but I have been. Obviously, I'll always look at Sheffield FC and Worktop and all your other local clubs. And then there is a little club in Nottinghamshire called Radford that I keep an eye on.
They sound really good. You should spend more time with them.
I should spend more time with them. They're a great team. If anyone wants to come on Saturday, come and keep me company.
Been supporting them long?
No, not long at all. No.
About 6 days?
About 9. But yeah, so no. Tottenham, in genuine, like Tottenham are my second team. Like I will always keep an eye out for them. But if Tottenham play Wednesday, there's no question. Like there's no question.
Spurs all day, yeah. Dele Alli, woo.
Yeah, Dele Alli, woo. I just did the hand thing, and you're not even here.
There you go. Yeah, no,
we can't see you, Vic. No, it works.
I think we all have our soft spots for different teams, and obviously Vic and I have got that Bolton connection. James probably wouldn't just emigrate, wouldn't you? Just go full time St. Pauli.
It's interesting that Chris actually he made the point of including English club in his question.
I noticed that.
I already go across to Hamburg kind of 5-6 times, which obviously is where I've just been. I need to say hello, by the way, to a guy called George, who's another Wednesday fan who was over in Hamburg for the St. Pauli game. So it was a pleasure to meet him. I would go and I've often considered if I ever just got really bored of going and seeing modern day football, I could see myself just going to Hallam. I could get into that. I could do that. But if I do have a second team in the UK, and it's never very popular when people ask me, particularly in Wednesday circles, but it's Liverpool, and it's always been Liverpool. I followed Liverpool quite closely when I was a kid, before I kind of started going to Wednesday matches, but I still have a real soft spot for them.
We've bonded over that though, babes. I have a soft spot for Liverpool. I wouldn't say they're a second team.
Yeah, I think it's all right. I don't have a problem with it.
There's
I've got a soft spot. I've got a soft spot for them too.
There's loads of teams like Rangers. I have a soft spot for Spurs, Liverpool. I don't have one for Arsenal. That's my one team that I have no respect.
Oh, hang on. We've got battle lines here because I've got a soft spot for Celtic. So me and you are enemies.
I'm not bothered about Celtic.
Oh, for God's sake!
Celtic.
You know what? Look, if we're going to do this, then I've got to pick Kilmarnock for my Scottish team. It's just it just becomes ridiculous. We've got one team.
St Johnstone just for the J.
Hey, you know why? Kilmarnock play in blue and white stripes. So
do you know what?
That's the
Eddie,
most Wednesday Scottish team.
Eddie, if we're all going to pick a second team, babe, we know who ours is at heart. We are Harchester United.
Harchester United.
Dragons
forever.
for life.
Absolutely. That tattoo is never getting covered up. And on that bombshell, that is the end of this week's podcast. As always, you will be able to find us, if not at the Leeds match, battering a load of West Yorkies, we will be online. Victoria, how do we find and contact you and stalk you until you get very scared and get a restraining order against us?
So I just block you. You can find me on Twitter. I'm at Victoria1867. That is just my Twitter username. Please don't use it on Facebook.
Wonderful. Dicky, other than the Riverside Cafe on Catch Bar Lane, which is the single best restaurant in Sheffield, as voted for by the readers of TV Quick Magazine, where else do we find you?
You can find me on Twitter at Dicky Owl, and I'll be spewing a load of balls out probably tomorrow night at Leeds fans in and be a general vileness.
Yes, come on, they're scum. We hate them. We all hate Leeds scum. James, you'll be at the match tomorrow night, I'm sure. Other than that, how do we keep up with your meanderings and continental travels?
It's all on Twitter at James Marriott. Here's an interesting thing. I've decided I need to get into Instagram. I haven't posted anything on Instagram since 2015. But it's kind of like it's all the rage at the moment. All the kids are kind of getting back into Instagram, and it's the kind of the buzz network at the moment. So I'm on Instagram. James M81 is my name on Instagram, which is pretty shit actually compared to my Twitter name. So actually, no, forget that. I'm not going to bother.
Does need a new avatar as well, doesn't it, James? It's not a good one.
What's wrong with it? That's all right. That's good.
I like that photo.
It's a few years out of date.
Sexy.
That's in Florida. That was taken. It's in a kitchen in Florida. This is the crappiest end to a podcast ever, isn't it? Fucking hell.
Big time.
Right. I will take full responsibility for that because I am the host. You will find me because there's a lot to be said for having the same username on all manner of social media. Snapchat, Sausage Arms. Facebook, Sausage Arms. Twitter, Sausage Arms. Instagram, G Steele X. Yeah, no, that's Georgia Steele from Love Island. That's not right. No, I'm Sausage Arms on Instagram as well. So we will be back next week, hopefully responding to 2 unbelievable Wednesday performances that have got us 6 points and driven us right up the table to be in the automatic promotion hunt. Other than that, we may well just be, as usual, drunk, maudlin, and wondering where it all went wrong. I've been Eddie. These guys have been fantastic. We'll see you all next week.
Chance here, a great save by Turner from the clear. Mike Penney, a terrific goal by Sheridan.
Brexman against Jones. Get in.
You could have 2 goalkeepers in there that would have trouble saving.
I've been Eddie. These guys have been fantastic. We'll see you all next week. Enjoy your time.
You ended on like your time.
Enjoy your time. I was thinking, what words do we next?
Enjoy
your
time.
time.
You just don't know when it's going to end.
I've got
There's a hashtag. There's a new hashtag. Enjoy your time.
Enjoy your time on the clock.
It was the raise of the voice at the end that killed me. It was enjoy your time.
That's it. Right, brilliant. Right, that's for the outtake after. What I was going to say was stay safe, love each other, and we will see you real soon.